Wow. That episode of Dune, Prophecy, was insane. So much happened. I'm still trying to process it all. Did you catch all that? The Emperor is surrounded by so many people who want him gone. It's a wonder he's still alive. And Valia Harkonnen, she's playing a dangerous game trying to win back the Emperor's favor. Then there's Desmond Hart, the Emperor's new right-hand man. He's seriously scary with those fire powers. And I'm not sure I trust him. What did you think of all that?
Yeah, it really was a wild ride, wasn't it? The episode definitely threw us some curveballs, especially with that shocking reveal at the end. What stood out to me was how the show is weaving together all these different storylines, from the political maneuvering of the great houses to the Bene Gesserit's secret schemes. It's like a giant puzzle,
Right.
where every piece is connected, and we're just starting to see the bigger picture.
Okay, let's break it down. The episode starts with a tense meeting of the Landsraad, which is like this giant council of all the most powerful families in the universe. We even got introduced to some new houses we haven't seen before, like Yasu, Hagal, and Gabungbala. It's a lot to keep track of. But the key takeaway here is that these families are always looking out for themselves, and they're not afraid to challenge the Emperor's authority. Do you think any of these new houses will become major players in the story?
It's definitely possible, especially given their connections to Arrakis and the spice trade. Remember, Arrakis is the most important planet in the universe because it's the only source of the spice melange, which is essential for space travel and other advanced technologies. So any house with a stake in Arrakis has the potential to wield immense power, and the showrunners seem to be setting up a conflict between the Landsraad and the Emperor, especially over control of Arrakis. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of these new houses siding with the rebels, or even launching their own bids for power.
That's a really good point. And speaking of power plays, let's talk about Velia Harkonnen's risky gambit. She basically allowed those rebels to try and assassinate the Emperor so she could swoop in and look like a hero. Talk about a bold move. What do you think? Was that a stroke of genius or a desperate gamble?
I think it was a bit of both. Valia is clearly a cunning strategist, but she's also driven by a deep desire to restore House Harkonnen to its former glory. And she's willing to take extreme measures to achieve her goals. Letting those rebels attack the Emperor was a huge risk, but if it had worked, it would have solidified her position as the Emperor's most trusted advisor. But as we saw, things didn't quite go according to plan.
Yeah, Desmond Hart totally stole her thunder.
Yeah.
He exposed the rebel plot and revealed the hidden Nixian bomb like it was nothing. It was almost as if he knew it was going to happen all along. Speaking of Desmond, he's quickly becoming one of the most intriguing characters on the show. He's got these mysterious fire powers, he's fiercely loyal to the Emperor, and he's got a serious vendetta against thinking machines. What's his deal?
He's definitely an enigma wrapped in a burning riddle. We still don't know much about his backstory or his motivations, but his actions speak volumes. His intense focus on eradicating thinking machines suggests a deep-seated trauma or a radical ideology. Remember in the Dune universe, advanced AI, what they call thinking machines, is strictly outlawed. It's considered a threat to humanity because of a past conflict where machines rose up and nearly destroyed human civilization. But Desmond seems to take this fear to a whole new level, almost like he has a personal vendetta against them.
Okay, so basically thinking machines are like the ultimate taboo in this universe. It's like they represent everything humanity fears. And Desmond has appointed himself as the guardian against this threat. I wonder if his past holds the key to understanding his motivations. Did you catch that line where he said he got his powers from a sandworm on Arrakis? Do you think that's really possible, or is he making it up?
That's one of the biggest mysteries surrounding Desmond, isn't it? His claim of getting fire powers from a sandworm is intriguing. We know that sandworms are worshipped as godlike creatures on Arrakis, and they possess immense power, but we've never seen them bestow powers on humans before. So either Desmond is telling the truth and his experience is something completely new, or he's using this story to manipulate people and gain their trust. I'm leaning towards the latter. But I have to admit, the idea of a human gaining power from a sandworm is pretty awesome.
Right. It would totally change the game. Imagine if humans could tap into the power of the sandworms. But for now, it's just another piece of the Desmond puzzle. He's like a walking, talking mystery box. And I can't wait to see what secrets he's hiding.
And speaking of secrets, let's not forget about the Bene Gesserit. They're always up to something. And this episode gave us a glimpse into their hidden agendas. They've got a spy in the palace, Kieran Atreides, who's pretending to be a rebel. But is he really loyal to the rebels, or is he playing a different game? Maybe influenced by the Sisterhood?
That's a great question. I mean, we know from the original Dune story that House Atreides eventually ends up ruling Arrakis. So what's Kieran doing? Getting involved with these rebels? Is he trying to help his family? Or is he working against them? And what role did the Bene Gesserit have in all of this? They're always playing the long game, manipulating events from the shadows. I wouldn't be surprised if they were orchestrating this whole rebellion, just to further their own mysterious goals.
And don't forget about their secret AI, the machine. They preach against thinking machines while secretly using one for their own purposes. It's a reminder that even the most seemingly righteous organizations can have dark secrets.
Yeah, that whole the machine thing is super creepy. They used it to bring Leela back to life. Remember her from the first episode. But is she truly back? Or is there something more sinister at play? I mean, she's got those glowing blue eyes now, which is a clear sign of spice exposure. Could she be connected to the prophecy about someone being twice born, once in blood, once in spice?
That's definitely a possibility worth considering. Leela's resurrection is one of the most intriguing storylines this season, and those glowing blue eyes are definitely a clue that something extraordinary happened to her. The question is, what exactly did the Bene Gesserit do to her? And what are the consequences of bringing someone back to life using forbidden technology? I'm also curious about what role Tula Harkonnen will play in all of this. She seems to believe that Leela is the key to fulfilling the prophecy. But what does that mean, and whose side is she really on?
Okay, buckle up, because here's where things get really wild. Remember Sister Theodosia, the one who seems so innocent and devoted to Valia? Well, it turns out she's a face dancer. Can you believe it? That reveal totally blew my mind. What does Valia plan to do with the shapeshifter in her arsenal? The possibilities are endless and scary.
Right. That reveal changes everything. Face dancers are like the ultimate spies. They can mimic anyone perfectly, stealing their knowledge and even their memories. Imagine the chaos Valia could unleash with a weapon like that. It makes you wonder who else might be a face dancer in disguise. Could someone close to the Emperor have already been replaced?
Whoa. That's a terrifying thought.
Hmm.
And speaking of terrifying, can we talk about how ruthless Valia has become? She literally let her own uncle, Evgeny, die just to solidify her control over House Harkonnen. I mean, I know the Harkonnens are known for being ruthless,
Right.
but that was cold, even for them. Do you think she's going to become the next Baron Harkonnen?
It's certainly a possibility. She's clearly shown that she's willing to do whatever it takes to achieve her goals, even if it means sacrificing family. And remember, she's been mentored by the Bene Gesserit, who are masters of manipulation and intrigue. She's learning from the best, or maybe the worst, depending on how you look at it. But I also think there's a part of her that still feels conflicted about her actions. Did you notice that subtle look of regret on her face when her uncle died? It's like she knows she's crossed a line, but she's too far gone to turn back.
Yeah, I saw that too. It's like she's losing her humanity, becoming the very thing she hates. But maybe that's the price of power in the Dune universe.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to make sacrifices, even if it means betraying your own family. It makes me wonder what will happen to Harrow, Balya's nephew. He seems like a good kid, but he's caught in the middle of this power struggle.
He's definitely in a precarious position. And remember, in the original Dune story, the Baron Harkonnen has a nephew named Feyd-Rautha, who is known for his cruelty and sadism. Could Harrow be destined to become that character? It's a chilling thought.
Oh man, I hope not. I'm really starting to like Harrow. He seems like one of the few genuinely decent people in this whole messed up family. But who knows? Maybe power corrupts everyone in the end.
That seems to be a recurring theme in the Dune universe, doesn't it? Power is a double-edged sword. It can be used for good or evil, and it often comes at a terrible cost.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground already. But there are still so many questions swirling around in my head. Like, what's the Empress's role in all of this? She seems genuinely concerned for her husband. But could she be playing her own game behind the scenes? And what about those creepy visions the Bene Gesserit keep having? What do those glowing eyes mean? Are they connected to Desmond? Or something even more sinister? I need answers.
We all do. But that's what makes this show so compelling, isn't it? It's full of twists and turns, unexpected revelations, and characters who are constantly challenging our perceptions. And with only 2 episodes left in the season, I have a feeling things are about to get even more intense.
I can't wait. But we've only just scratched the surface of this episode. There's so much more to unpack, from the subtle symbolism to the hidden clues that might have slipped past us. But before we dive even deeper, let's take a quick break to catch our breath and process all this mind-blowing information.
Sounds good to me. We'll be back in a bit to continue our analysis and unravel even more mysteries.
Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back to explore even more of the epic world of Dune. Prophecy.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Dune, Prophecy. Are you ready for more? Because we're just getting started. There are so many layers to this story, and we're going to peel them back one by one, just like an onion.
Speaking of layers, Did you notice the subtle detail in the scene where Valia is talking to the Emperor? She's wearing this elaborate gown with intricate patterns that resemble the scales of a sandworm. It's like the show is constantly reminding us that Arrakis, the sandworms, and the spice are at the heart of everything that's happening in this universe.
That's a great observation. The show is definitely full of visual symbolism. It's like the creators are speaking to us in a secret language, using images and metaphors to convey deeper meanings. The sandworm imagery is particularly interesting because it represents both power and danger. The sandworms are the most powerful creatures on Arrakis, but they're also unpredictable and deadly, just like the game of politics that's being played out in this episode.
And speaking of danger, let's talk about that intense confrontation between Valia and her uncle Evgeny. It was brutal. I mean, she basically watched him die rather than give him his medication. That was a seriously dark moment even for Harkonnen. It shows how far she's willing to go to achieve her goals.
Right. That scene was chilling. It highlighted the ruthless pragmatism of House Harkonnen. To them, power is everything, and sentimentality is a weakness. Evgeny represented the old ways of doing things, clinging to outdated traditions and constantly undermining Valya's authority. She saw him as an obstacle to her plans, and she eliminated him without hesitation. It's a reminder that in the world of Dune, family ties can be easily broken in the pursuit of power.
Yeah, it's like she's embraced the whole survival of the fittest mentality.
Right.
It's a dog-eat-dog world out there, and you have to be willing to do whatever it takes to come out on top. But I still can't get over the fact that she just stood there and watched him die. It was like she was numb to it all.
That coldness, that lack of empathy, is a hallmark of the Harkonnen family. They're known for their cruelty and their willingness to inflict pain on others. But I think there's more to it than that. Remember, Valia was raised in a culture that values strength above all else. She was taught that weakness is a liability and that compassion is a sign of vulnerability. So, in a way, she's a product of her environment. But I also think there's a part of her that's still struggling with her own humanity.
Maybe she's realizing that the path to power is paved with darkness, and there's no turning back once you start down that road. It's like she's selling her soul, piece by piece, in exchange for a chance to rule.
That's a really interesting way to put it. It's like she's making a Faustian bargain, sacrificing her morals for a taste of power. And the question is, will it be worth it in the end? Will she achieve her goals and restore House Harkonnen to its former glory? Or will she be consumed by the very darkness she's embracing?
I guess we'll have to wait and see. But speaking of darkness, let's shift gears for a moment and talk about the Emperor. He's surrounded by all these schemers and manipulators, and he seems completely oblivious to the danger he's in. Like, does he even realize how dangerous Desmond Hart really is?
It's hard to tell what's going on in the Emperor's mind. He's a complex character, full of contradictions. He wants to be seen as a strong and decisive ruler, but he also seems easily swayed by those who appear loyal to him. He's clearly fallen for Desmond's act, believing that he's this righteous crusader who's protecting humanity from the threat of thinking machines. But I think there's more to it than that.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Emperor is lonely. He's surrounded by people who want something from him. But he doesn't have anyone he can truly trust. He sees Desmond as a kindred spirit, someone who shares his fears and his beliefs. But is Desmond really an ally? Or is he manipulating the Emperor for his own gain? I have a feeling Desmond has a much bigger plan, and the Emperor is just a pawn in his game.
That's a very astute observation. Remember that scene where Desmond places his bloody hand right in front of Valia after burning those rebels? It felt very deliberate, like a power play.
Oh yeah, I totally caught that. It was like he was saying, I know what you're up to, Valia, and I'm not afraid of you. And the way Valia looked at that blood, it was almost like she was hungry for it.
Exactly. That scene was dripping with subtext. It hints at a deeper connection between Desmond and Valia, something that goes beyond their shared ambition. They were both drawn to power, but for different reasons. Desmond seems driven by a thematical ideology, while Valia is motivated by a desire to restore her family's honor. But there's a darkness in both of them, a ruthlessness that could bring them together or tear them apart.
Ooh.
I love that. It's like they're two sides of the same coin, both dangerous in their own way. And what about that scene where Valia is analyzing Desmond's blood? What do you think she's going to find?
That's the million Solaris question, isn't it? I have a feeling his lineage is going to be a surprise, something that throws a wrench into everyone's plans. Remember, the Bene Gesserit are obsessed with bloodlines and genetics. They've been manipulating bloodlines for centuries, trying to breed the perfect human being. What if Desmond is a product of their experiments? Or what if he's descended from a bloodline they thought was extinct?
Whoa, that would be a crazy twist. It would totally change the game. Imagine if Desmond is somehow connected to the Kwisatz Haderach. the messianic figure the Bene Gesserit have been trying to create for centuries.
That's a fascinating theory. It would explain his unique powers and his intense focus on eliminating thinking machines. But it also raises a lot of questions. If Desmond is connected to the Kwisatz Haderach, what does that mean for the Bene Gesserit's plans? Are they going to try to control him or eliminate him? And what role will he play in the coming conflict? This show is giving me a serious case of brain overload. There's so many possibilities, so many paths the story could take. But speaking of paths, let's circle back to Kieran Atreides, the Sisterhood spy in the palace. He's got to be one of the most conflicted characters on the show, right?
Absolutely. He's torn between his loyalty to the rebellion and his family's future. Remember, we know from the original Dune story that House Atreides will eventually rule Arrakis. So what does that mean for Kieran? Is he going to betray the rebels to protect his family? Or will he sacrifice his family's future for a chance to overthrow the Emperor?
Talk about a no-win situation. He's caught between a rock and a hard place. And what about those visions the Bene Gesserit keep having? The ones with the glowing blue eyes. Do you think those are Desmond's eyes?
It's definitely a possibility. Remember, the Bene Gesserits have prophetic abilities. They can see glimpses of the future. But their visions are often fragmented and difficult to interpret. The glowing blue eyes could represent Desmond's power, his destiny, or even the threat he poses to their plans.
And what about that creepy moment where the camera lingers on the Baron's ring after Valia lets her uncle die? It's like the ring itself is a symbol of power, passing from one generation to the next. Do you think Valia will claim the ring for herself?
I'm not so sure. While it's true the ring symbolizes the legacy of House Harkonnen, I think the showrunners are trying to tell us something more nuanced. The way the camera focused on the ring after Evgeny's death, almost lovingly, it felt like a farewell to an era. And with Valia's rise to power, we're entering a new chapter in the Harkonnen saga. This is Valia's story now, and she's writing her own rules. The ring might be a symbol of the past, but she's focused on the future.
That's a really interesting interpretation. And speaking of the future, let's not forget about that ominous prophecy about the twice-born individual and the reckoning. It's like a dark cloud hanging over everything, and no one seems to know what it really means. Do you have any theories about who the twice-born person might be?
It's one of the biggest mysteries of the show, isn't it? We've got several candidates. Leela, who is literally brought back to life. Valia, who's undergone a metaphorical rebirth. And Desmond, who claims to have gained his powers from a sandworm. It's possible that the prophecy could refer to all of them, or to someone we haven't met yet. And what about the reckoning? Is it a person, an event, or something else entirely? The showrunners are keeping us guessing, and I love it.
Me too. I love a good mystery. And Dune, Prophecy, is serving up a feast of them. But before we get too carried away with our theories, let's take a moment to appreciate the amazing visuals in this show. The costumes, the sets, the special effects. It's also breathtaking.
Agreed. The production design is top-notch. They've really captured the grandeur and the grittiness of the Dune universe, from the sweeping desert vistas of Arrakis to the opulent interiors of the Harkonnen Palace. And those sandworms, they look so real, it's almost scary.
I know. And those special effects, the way they show Desmond's fire powers, the sandworms, the shape-shifting, it's all so believable and immersive.
The special effects are definitely top-notch. And let's not forget about the music. The score is hauntingly beautiful and perfectly complements the epic scope of the story. It's clear that a lot of care and attention to detail went into creating this show, and it really shows.
This show is truly a masterpiece of science fiction storytelling. It's got everything. Political intrigue, complex characters, mind-bending mysteries, and stunning visuals. It's making me think about the nature of power, the dangers of technology, and the complexities of fate and destiny.
It's definitely a show that stays with you long after you've finished watching it. And we're only halfway through our deep dive. There's still so much to discuss, so many theories to explore.
Okay, before we get completely lost in the wormhole of speculation, let's take a moment to catch our breath and gather our thoughts.
Good idea. We'll be right back to continue our analysis and dive even deeper into the mysteries of Dune, Prophecy.
Welcome back. I hope you're ready for more Dune Prophecy craziness, because this episode left me with so many thoughts and theories I barely know where to begin.
I know exactly what you mean every time we think we've figured something out. The show throws another curveball, and it's amazing. It's like riding a sandworm through a storm. Exciting, unpredictable, and a little bit terrifying.
Okay, so we spent a lot of time talking about the big picture stuff, like prophecies and power struggles. But I want to zoom in on a few specific details that really stood out to me. For instance, did you catch that scene where the Emperor was talking about his ancestors battling Titans? What do you think those Titans were?
That's a great question. The show has been dropping these little hints about ancient history, and I think it's significant. The term Titans could refer to several things. They could have been powerful AIs, remnants of the thinking machine rebellion that humanity barely survived, or maybe they were some kind of ancient enemy, a forgotten civilization with advanced technology that threatened the Imperium.
Ooh, imagine if those titans were actually some sort of Lovecraftian horror lurking in the far reaches of space. That would be insane.
It would definitely add a whole new dimension to the Dune universe. But I think the showrunners are being deliberately vague about the Titans for now. Letting our imaginations run wild, it adds an element of mystery and suspense to the story. Who knows, maybe we'll learn more about the Titans in future episodes.
Okay, here's another detail that caught my eye. That blue alcohol everyone seems to be drinking. It's blue because it's infused with spice. It makes you wonder how deeply the spice is embedded in this society.
Exactly. The spice isn't just a valuable commodity, it's woven into the very fabric of their culture. They drink it, they use it in religious ceremonies, and it even plays a role in their politics. It's a constant reminder that Arrakis and the control of the spice is the key to power in the Dune universe.
Speaking of power, we have to talk about the Empress Natalia. She seems genuinely concerned for her husband. But could she be playing her own game behind the scenes? What if she's the one who leaked those rumors about the murdered noble to stir up trouble? It definitely benefited Desmond in the end.
I wouldn't put it past her. She's in a position of immense power, but seemingly limited by the patriarchal structure of the Imperium. She could be using Desmond to achieve her own aims, maybe even to gain more control within the court. It's clear she's intelligent and resourceful, and I think we've only seen a glimpse of her true potential.
Okay, last question about details before we wrap up. What's with the Emperor's signet ring? They keep focusing on it like it's super important.
Right. I noticed that too. The signet ring is definitely a symbol of his authority. But it could also have a more practical function. Remember, in the Dune universe, signet rings are used to authenticate messages and decrees. What if someone were to steal the Emperor's ring? They could potentially issue false orders, forge documents. So chaos and discord throughout the Imperium.
Whoa, that would be a disaster. And now I'm even more worried about those shape-shifting face dancers. If Theodosia could get her hands on that ring.
It doesn't even bear thinking about. The potential for deception and manipulation is off the charts. It makes you question everything you see and everyone you meet. Who can you trust when anyone could be a face dancer in disguise?
Okay, this conversation is officially giving me chills. But let's shift gears and talk about the big picture again. What do you think is going to happen in the final 2 episodes? Any predictions?
Well, with only 2 episodes left, I think we're going to see a lot of the storylines converge. I predict a major showdown between Valia and Desmond, with the Emperor caught in the middle. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Bene Gesserit's plans come to fruition, leading to that reckoning they've been whispering
Oh,
about.
yeah. And we still don't know how Leela fits into all of this. She's got those freaky blue eyes now. And Tula seems convinced that she's connected to the prophecy. Could she be the key to saving the Imperium? Or destroying it?
That's the million Solaris question. And with a show like Dune, Prophecy, I doubt we'll get a straight answer, but that's what makes it so much fun to watch and discuss.
Exactly. This show keeps us guessing, constantly challenging our expectations and making us think. And isn't that what great storytelling is all about?
Absolutely. This show has it all. Political intrigue, complex characters, stunning visuals, and mind-bending mysteries. It's a must-watch for any sci-fi fan.
Well, that's all the time we have for this week's deep dive into Dune Prophecy. But don't worry, we'll be back next week to break down the penultimate episode and try to make sense of all the chaos before the season finale.
Be sure to subscribe to our channel and leave your own theories and predictions in the comments below. We love hearing from you and getting your take on the twists and turns of this incredible show.
Until next time, stay tuned and keep thinking. What do you think will happen in the final episodes? Let us know.